My experience here as a foreigner, I will acknowledge the fact that the Ugandan government has also tried to, kind of be understanding, considering the fact that we also have to apply for visas and all that. But they have been understanding concerning that, and sometimes it's pending. They try and move things as fast as they can. Bugema University has been really welcoming to us international students throughout the whole process. Evidenced by how many we are. There's so many internationals. Organizations obviously help us. We are separated into our different associations. So we have the associations for the Congolese, the Southern Africans, the South Sudanese. So that also helps you kind of feel a bit like home, and different matrons and patrons. Things that I love about Bugema. We as foreigners are also allowed to actively participate in the politics here in the university, which I think is very different at other universities like Makerere. We've come to the realization that COVID is not going anywhere. Whatever it is that you were doing, you need to do it better this year in order to, still do whatever your goals were. Museveni just kept saying 21 days, and you're like, okay. Now it's like, okay, even though there's a lockdown and there are 42 days or how many days, I'm still supposed to keep hustling. So that's it. There's certain things that we're so used to doing physically that, during COVID-19, we've kind of learned to kind of like, okay, sometimes it's not necessary. You don't necessarily need to go to the office all the time. Simple email, simple. A class can be online, simple, right? Before, I wasn't able to, but now I'm finishing my degree. Now I'm getting my A-level. How did you do it? If you do not have A-levels, you can come and do a bridging course. So for me, that was the issue, the main issue. And I really hope that a lot of people get to know this. Hey, my name is Tinashe Rakunda Mazuimbakupa from Zimbabwe. And I am a student here at Bugema University, main campus. I'm studying a bachelor's in development studies with emphasis in disaster management.
When did you come to Uganda?
That was 2017. Yeah, 2017.
How has it been?
My experience here in Uganda has been unique. I will not lie, it's totally different from Southern Africa, but I have enjoyed it. I've enjoyed the climate, the food. It's amazing. COVID has brought with it a different experience, but generally the experience in Uganda, priceless. It's beautiful.
Have you made some friends around campus, around Uganda?
Definitely. That's one thing I love about UG. I mean, you meet so many different people. I love the fact that I can be in a room with people from 6 different countries at a go here. And yeah, I've met Ugandans, Rwandese, Burundians, Congolese, Zambians, South Sudanese, all here in Uganda.
Wow.
Yeah.
Looking back, you came to Uganda before the COVID outbreak.
Yeah.
How do you compare the two experiences?
Definitely different. It has switched from, the whole, I think we're going to be locked down for like a month and it's a great break, to, oh my gosh, it's getting to a point where it's depressing, and then it gets to a point where it's literally traumatizing and stressful, and you really just don't know how to feel. And you're still supposed to find a way to bring it all back together and accomplish during such trying times. It hasn't been easy, and the fact that we're supposed to still accomplish, in the same way that we did before is even harder.
Yeah.
It's a lot of pressure, not gonna lie.
Wow. Looking at last year, how was last year as compared to this year? When COVID just struck into the country, into the world, Uganda was pushed into the lockdown, and everyone was confused on what to do next. What was your experience?
I will say, for me, last year was definitely easier than this year, which is very weird, but I think it's the fact that last year everyone had stopped. It's as if the whole world was at a standstill.
Yeah.
No one was moving, and we thought that this thing was going to pass. Whereas this year, we've come to the realization that COVID is not going anywhere. Whatever it is that you were doing, you need to do it better this year in order to, still do whatever your goals were. Now it's all about manage or achieving your goals in the pandemic. It's no longer just being in the pandemic. It's working through it. So between last year and this year, I think maybe this year is a bit harder than last year, because last year was kind of like, we don't know where we're going. Museveni just kept saying 21 days, and you're like, okay. Now it's like, okay, even though there's a lockdown and there are 42 days or how many days, I'm still supposed to keep hustling. So that's it.
I personally thought that looking at last year and this year, you would have picked some lessons from last year and then maybe apply them to this year as far as the lockdown is concerned.
Definitely.
I wouldn't find it a little bit challenging like you're stating. I would find it much easier. But moving on, what are those lessons you've picked during the second lockdown in Uganda?
I think probably the most important lesson that I have picked is to look at it not as
Yeah.
a situation or an isolated situation, COVID-19, to look at it as part of who we are and what we're doing. Social distancing is just the norm. Okay? If you try and look at COVID-19 as this scary thing that's never gonna go away, you will be so afraid you will never move.
True.
To look at COVID-19 to be like, okay, let's just keep hustling. And if you hear someone has COVID, don't be like, oh my gosh. Be like, no, get well, get well soon. You're gonna be okay. Let's try and avoid catching COVID. Stick to the SOPs, but at the same time, let's not treat it as COVID as if it's, I don't know, something crazy out of this world. And then also, I think I've also learned a lot about like mental health.
Okay.
I think making sure that your mental health is in check, probably one of the most important things that I learned during last year. A lot of online work also. That's another really, really important lesson. There are certain things that we're so used to doing physically that, during COVID-19, we've kind of learned to kind of like, okay, sometimes it's not necessary. From a student's perspective, it's not necessary to be there on campus all the time for registration, things like registration or even just interacting with your lecturers or your supervisors.
Yeah.
You don't necessarily need to go to the office all the time. Simple email, simple. A class can be online, simple. Sir, we want to discuss, or there's something that I don't understand, a meeting on Zoom, fair and fine. Those are some of the really important lessons I've learned, actually.
Wow, impressive.
Yeah.
We're in the lockdown, and you people are expected to be at home. What happened? What's the story behind?
Oh my gosh.
What happened? I found you in hostel. What are you doing here?
Here's the funny thing.
Sure.
I will track back. Okay, let me track back first of all to the first time we were here. First time we were here, Seveni announced we're locking down. A lot of people from neighboring countries managed to get back home. It was simple, a day's journey. Some of us who are a bit further down, it took a bit of time. I personally will admit that I did have a flight and I could have, rushed to the airport, but I didn't think it was going to take that long. And by the time we realized, oh God, this thing is going to take a really long time, the airports were closed and I was locked down. Reaching out to the embassy. Zimbabwe doesn't really have an embassy here. We do have a consulate.
More like that.
Whatever that means. But we do have representatives here. But it was such a long process. Zambians managed to go home. This time around, we came back. We thought that things were just slowly going to normalize. I came back personally because I'm a finalist.
Okay.
I completed halfway there. Left with just doing a few things with my research and another 42 days. Do I go home? And then hope to come back and finish up my research? Or do I stay, stick it out, when he opens, hustle, do the research and finish? So I was like, you know what, let me stay here, stick it out and finish this thing, because I'll find myself in 2022 again and I still haven't graduated and I want to avoid that.
You're looking forward to graduating.
Yes.
What if it's pushed to next year?
Lord have mercy on my soul. I can't. They have to find a way for some of us. I mean, even just jobs, like even just for your mental health, where do I stand? I've been a graduate for the past, 7 months? When you do something, finish it. Yes, you can start the hustle, start doing this and that, but at the end of the day, if you start something, finish it. So I hope that they'll give us at least a leeway, some breathing room. At least for those who are supposed to graduate in 2021, to graduate in 2021.
How have you coped up with the lockdown? You're not at home. There is a lot going on.
Yeah.
You're expected to feed. You're expected to have some money to push you through. How have you coped with this experience, being with the fact that you're in hostel?
I think that has probably been one of the greatest challenges. Maybe it's not easy being a student.
Never been.
It has never
been.
been,
Yeah.
and then add COVID to it. Your parents are also struggling, or and then here you're struggling as well. So you really don't know how to strike the balance because at home things are not okay,
Yeah.
especially being from Zim. And then you're here and you're like, I'm not okay. I don't know how to say I'm not okay, but then you're just trying to strike that balance and you try the budgeting, doing things as a group. You try and find ways of saving. It has not been easy, but you have to find a way. You have to find a solution and you have to stick it through. And I think here, especially just being here it has really helped having a lot of other people around, having friends around, finding ways, okay, how can we save? How can we, do this better instead of taking, okay, obviously during lockdown, there are no borders, but instead of maybe a trip that would have cost us, I don't know, 5,000, is it possible that maybe we walk the whole way? I know it's a really long journey, but let's say it's a workout and walk the whole way. Instead of your usual, maybe let's try some local options. Now you find yourself eating matoke. You're like, wow, okay. They're pretty cool. So let me get, it hasn't been easy, but we found a way through it. You just have to find a way through it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Have you gotten any support from the government of Uganda?
At first, through the university, there was a bit of aid for those who were registered,
Yeah.
but since then, no. No.
That was
We have
during the
interest.
first lockdown?
Yeah, that was
or-
during the first lockdown,
Oh.
of which I think that might have been the university collaborating. It might have been some kind of collaboration even with the student government. But no, we have not,
You've not.
fortunately.
How about from your consulate or representative?
No. No, it could be they don't know. The consulate, I think, was formed quite recently, from what
really?
I hear.
During lockdown? Or?
The swearing in,
Yeah.
I think that ceremony,
Oh.
our president
Yeah,
did
yeah.
come around and they set something up for us. So I do acknowledge that. Yeah. Although,
What's your message to the people out there, especially the people at the consulate?
please remember us. It's no offense. It's no offense. I know we're in a village. It's pretty isolated, and I hear through different links. I just feel like sometimes the link gets broken,
Yeah.
and we just need to learn to just keep bringing each other in, and yeah.
Do you have a communication channel of, say, students from Zim across the different universities in the country? Is there a linkage between you people and your consulate? However much it has just been set up, is there a linkage or a channel whereby you share your concerns with them since they are representative in Uganda?
I do acknowledge that there is a WhatsApp group
Okay.
where we have students from, I don't know whether they're students or just people from different areas, Zimbabweans.
Yeah.
And I was connected to that by some former Zimbabweans who were here, who were studying here. Yeah. For other Zimbabweans that are here on campus, we're few, but I don't know if they are aware of it or if they know it the way that I do. But I do acknowledge that there is a group where people do talk.
Okay.
Yeah, we talk.
You do.
Yeah.
What's your message to the government of Uganda? It can be a piece of advice. It can be something close to that.
One thing that I will acknowledge is the fact that from what I've heard from other students who are abroad, different countries, and my experience here as a foreigner, I will acknowledge the fact that the Ugandan government has also tried to, kind of be understanding.
Yeah.
considering the fact that we also have to apply for visas and all that. But they have been understanding concerning that. And, sometimes it's pending. They try and move things as fast as they can. So I do acknowledge their help in that. But I do wish that they would be a little bit more understanding of maybe students who are from afar. Hey, like here in Bugema, where it would be so difficult, especially with the curfew, to travel there to do some of the documentation, when we're needed, and to meet the curfew, it's just not reasonable. So you find that sometimes you even have to find like somewhere to sleep there in Kampala, and it's like, okay. And even right now, the airports are not closed. If I wanted to travel, I could travel, but my question is, how would I go get my COVID certificate?
Yeah.
Where would I sleep?
Sure.
And then coming back to Bugema, getting my stuff, and then going back. And then, all those logistics, how would I work through that? If I want to go home. Some of the lockdown measures we understand, but like sometimes it's difficult, like bringing it down to reality. I personally have a friend who was injured during COVID in an accident. But
Oh, sorry about that.
he's sitting with injuries, but he can't go through the border because of so many little logistics.
Oh, yeah.
They say you're sick and you need a referral, but you go to the referral and they say, we can't give you the referral for you to cross because technically we can't see any injuries. But he needs the referral to go and get scans to prove the injuries.
True.
So, there are those logistics. I understand that there are people who do try and kind of bend the rules, but what about the genuine people? Especially if you're a foreigner, where do you go? So I think maybe having government representatives here in the universities that can help with such issues and can help in such situations, especially when it's now COVID and you have a lot of international students. Maybe that's something that they could think about. I don't know.
Wow.
Yeah.
Have you picked feedback from your fellow international students, especially from other countries? What are some of their concerns? Could you kindly share with us, since most of them are commercial? What have you heard? What have you heard them talk about?
Okay. Classes, let me say that. It's a bit difficult, the bundles and all, network here. You find that someone has a class, there's no network, exams also. You find that you have an exam, but the exam is not online. Those issues when it comes to generally schooling. And then people who just give up also. You're like, where's this going? Let me go home. Fair and fine. Some drop out. I will admit that I do have some friends who just didn't come back. Are you studying online? No, I'm not studying online. What's up? You just find that instead of pulling so many funds to education, you might as well hustle,
Yeah.
Financially, obviously, everyone is struggling financially. Also, let's look at some of the other social aspects, the social challenges, mental health I mentioned, cases of violence, obviously drugs, issues with drugs. Okay, let me say drug and alcohol abuse. This is something that, when we use the term drug and alcohol abuse, it's heavy. But if I come back down and I say someone who's drinking on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and never takes a break, that is cause for concern. Someone who spends the whole day in bed, the whole week in bed, and you only come out, you don't even come out, maybe you cook your food inside, cause for concern. I'm concerned. As a development practitioner, I am concerned. So I think those are some of the other issues. You get a lot of people who say, guys, I'm lonely. Depression will start to come in. When someone says I'm lonely, well, you guys, I'm bored. Bored is just when you say you're bored for a month, it's like, okay, all right, something is up.
Sure.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Wow. I would love to find out how has the university treated you people who come from these other different countries?
Generally, Bugema University has been really welcoming to us international students throughout the whole process. Evidenced by how many we are. There's so many internationals right now. So that's obviously evidence that they're really welcoming.
Yeah.
And, they have set up different Organizations obviously help us. We are separated into our different associations.
Okay.
So we have the associations for the Congolese, the Southern Africans, the South Sudanese. So that also helps you kind of feel a bit like home, and different matrons and patrons. A student body, where we're also represented. And that's one of the things that I love about Bugema. We as foreigners are also allowed to actively participate in the politics here in the university, which I think is very different at other universities like Makerere.
Oh,
I don't know. I'm not too sure.
tell me.
I'm not too sure. But here we are allowed to contest freely, no discrimination whatsoever.
What's the population of international students as compared to
The
the Ugandans?
internationals. I would say international students will probably come up about 60, 70 something percent. Let me say. Yeah.
So you're more than the local.
I have a feeling we're more.
More reason for you guys to be accepted to participate in the politics.
I have a feeling but hey, this is from my perspective, hey.
Yeah.
When I'm saying more, I mean in the middle of a semester. I'm looking at registered students. And that's very different from what you end up having at the end of the semester when you have the actual sheet at the end of the day.
Okay.
The Ugandans may actually be more on a whole academic semester. You're fetching me. Like, by the time you're registered, if you look at registered students halfway through the semester, you find that you have a lot of Congolese, a lot of Tanzanians, a lot of, and that's probably due to, scholarships and all that. And then as the semester starts to kind of trickle down, you start seeing, the groups. So you look at the actual sheet at the end of the day, you might find that we strike kind of like a balance. But I don't think when it comes to that, numbers is really an issue. I'll take
How are the lecturers? How have they treated you people?
also welcoming. Again, we're blessed. We have also a lot of international lecturers here, which is an added. I just think it's an added advantage for everyone.
Okay.
If I'm able to sit in a class where I'm being taught by a Ugandan, I'm being taught by, I don't know, someone who's from Burundi, then I take it as a plus for me because I get to understand different people's perspectives at the end of the day. Yeah.
Is it worth to travel all the way from Zim to Uganda?
Definitely worth it.
Is the education up there? Is it up to the standard you expected? Because looking at Zim, I'm looking at you traveling all the way to come to Bugema to look for this qualification. Is it worth?
I definitely think it's worth it. It's the quality. Not to say that there isn't quality in it, but it's just It's just different. If I sit in a room, right, with someone who studied the same course as me and they've studied in Zim and I've studied in UG, they have their perspective.
Okay.
And I also have my own, right? Especially in Bugema. Yeah, I mean, it's a village. There's no question about it. They would ask me how to deal with the community and ask someone who's been educated in the town or in the city how to deal. Totally different. Not bad, but just different. And different is good. Yeah.
Why Uganda?
Okay, for me, it was just a referral. I was someone referred me, yeah. Particularly Bugema, if you do not have A levels, you can come and do a bridging course.
Oh.
Hey, so 2 years, I think, and you'll be able to then after your 2 years, then you can now study your degree.
Okay.
So for me, that was the main issue. And I really hope that a lot of people get to know this, especially down Zim, when things are becoming really, really expensive. When you find yourself, we've personally found ourselves, it was really difficult. Things were really expensive. And if we had known at the time, probably would have made a different decision. A level is not, it's great. But this education system, we need to open our eyes up a little bit, especially with this new pandemic. Let's open our eyes up a little bit. What we used to know, step A, step B, C. No. Sometimes it's like a little, adjust.
Oh, yeah.
And I really hope that people get to, hear this, okay? Especially if you're in Zim. There are other ways of getting things done. I'm here.
And you're about to graduate.
And I'm about to graduate. Can you imagine that?
Wow.
There were a bit of issues, yes, but can you imagine when I'm about to graduate, that's when I finally get my A-level results, right? Before, I wasn't able to, but now I'm finishing my degree. Now I'm getting my A-level. How did you do it? Ha,
Time flies, maybe.
ha, nah, ha.
So I'm assuming we shall have some people from Zim who will be watching you. What's your message to them?
Especially the young people.
Especially the young people.
I'll speak to the young people. Never give up. Never give up. It's not an option. Never give up. It's tough. It's tough. Sometimes it feels like breathing itself is hard. Being alive is hard. But in those moments, there is a reason why you're here today and that you're breathing. The breath that is in you is not just a mistake. That is a reason. That alone is a reason. So never give up. When things aren't going your way, just keep pushing and keep pushing and keep pushing. And even when it pushes back, push. You know why? What have you got to lose anyway? So you just push. That's my advice to them.
Wow, very beautiful. Before we conclude, I would love to know, how have you found the hostels? Are you still paying charges since the university closed? Are you still being charged?
Yes, we are. We are still being charged. I will admit these are services being rendered.
Yeah.
At first, last year, our landlords, different landlords made the decision to, kind of stop payments for a bit. We didn't pay for May, June, July,
Impressive.
and then we started paying August, September. But I will acknowledge that they did try to understand. We were all trying to adjust, but now it's kind of like, okay, this is the new normal.
What's your advice to your fellow students during this pandemic, during this lockdown?
Stay fit, keep active, keep the mind healthy. Yeah, that's what's up.
Do you believe in COVID? Do you believe COVID is out there?
100%. It's there. It's
is.
there. COVID-19 is out there. But I also believe that, hey, malaria was out there, typhoid was out there, HIV is out. I mean, they're all out there.
True.
Hey, we just need to find a way. You ask our grandmothers, our grandfathers.
Yeah.
They'll tell you, yo, people died. But this is just now that this is it's airborne. HIV hit, and that one obviously was sexually transmitted and all that. It was a different fight, but this is also a different fight because we're social people. Society now is all about being, social, and now we have this pandemic that says social distance. So it's a little, but it's out there. We need to manage it. We'll manage it. We're all right.
Okay.
We'll get there.
And what's your message to your fellow students in regards to COVID? And
We need to stay safe. We like this hostel hopping. But I think we just need to keep it on the low, the minimum, and just try and regulate, stay healthy, keep fit, stick to the SOPs. Yeah, that's what I've got for them.
And what's your last message to the government? since you're being taken good care of by two governments. That's the Zim government and the Ugandan government. What's your last message to them? Starting from home.
Starting from home, okay. I will acknowledge that things at home are a little complicated. They're not a little, they're very complicated. And in that complication, I think it's important to find time, right? And acknowledge the fact that the future is with us.
True.
Let's acknowledge the future is with us. And we're all out here. There's so many students who are out, different countries. But at some point, we're going to come home. We're coming home. We're coming home, and things can't stay the same.
True.
I'll say that. For our next generation, things cannot be the same. True. The children that I will bear and the children that they will bear, things cannot be the same.
Never.
It's time to take Zim to a next level. And as far as Uganda is concerned, woo, let's keep it going. Let's keep it going. We're not too different. That's the funny thing. We're not too different. Africa is African. Systems are not too different either. But yeah, let's keep it moving. For the young people also, let's just keep it moving. And let's just keep.
So the message cuts across.
Cuts across.
So thank you so much. For purposes of the viewers out there, kindly remind them your names.
My name is Tinashe Rakunda Mazuimbakupa.
Okay.
Yeah.
And maybe you can give them a few inspirational words, because I heard you speaking some good inspirational messages out there. So if you have something which you would love to share with whoever will be watching, you kindly throw it out there.
To the young girls out there, I speak particularly the young girls because we're affected differently than the males. Not that we take a greater burden, but we're just affected differently. Most of what is done in society amongst young people ends up affecting girls more. Huh? What you do affects you more. We're just different. Society requires more from us, obviously. I always say that a lot has been invested in us as the girl children, you know? And society expects, you know? Society expects, a lot from us because they've invested. Great invest. The more you invest, the more you expect from your investment. And that's sad. It's sad. I make a mistake and it's an abomination. A man makes a mistake and he's being a boy. That's what boys do, So, my advice to them, keep your head up high. Keep your head up high. I know it's hard, but just keep your head up high and, just, it's going to be okay. I say this because I'm also just, it's overwhelming,
Wow.
but it's going to be okay. I say this especially to those who are going through anything in the battles that people don't see, especially those ones. You're going to
Keep
get
your
through
head
it.
up.
Keep your head up.
Stay focused.
Stay focused. And your passion, your dreams. Yeah, fight for those. Because that's where the key is.
True.
The key, I know we go to school, yes, but your talents, that's where the key is, I feel. And so, okay, I would say more, but I really would like people to check me out on Instagram, Tina Mazi,
Oh wow.
because that's where you'll get a lot of my poems, and you also get a lot of what I feel.
You're a poet.
I am, I do express myself in times. There you will find one particular piece, 16 conversations, and you'll get a lot about what gender-based violence meant during the lockdown from me. And on Facebook, you can also get me. You'll get a lot of, what I've also written. And yeah, maybe you can learn a little bit from that. Yeah.
We thank you so much.
Thank you so much.